Burning Earth is the second Firewind album. It was a quick follow-up from the debut album, which actually took forever to make. Between Heaven and Hell took pretty much 5 years. It was 5 years in the making. But when that album came out, I had signed a small record deal with Leviathan Records, a label that was owned by 80s guitar hero David Chastain out of Atlanta, Georgia. But we had some success in Japan on the first album. EMI had licensed the album there. So after that happened, I started writing songs for the follow-up album. I think it must have been early 2003. And I realized that up to that point, we were pretty much a studio project. And that's when I decided I wanted to make this more of a European-based band. Therefore, I started looking for a new rhythm section. First, I asked my hometown friend from my old neighborhood, Petros Christo. I asked him to join the band and be the bass player. Actually, Petros has been the longest member in the band after myself. And then around that time, prior to that, I was living in Sweden for a couple of years, and I was playing with a Swedish band called Dream Evil, and that band was based together with Fredrik Nordstrom, who was a producer and owned Studio Fredman. So I got to meet, through Fredrik, I met a lot of the musicians that came through his studio, and one of the guys was Stian Kristoffersen, who was a drummer for a Norwegian band called Pagan's Mind. And I had reached out to Stian and asked him if he wanted to play the drums on the second Firewind album. And he accepted. And on vocals, we still kept working with Stephen Frederick, who was based in Atlanta. And he was somebody who was an old friend of David Chastain from our label at the time, Leviathan. So we started writing the songs around summer 2003. This was an album that cemented that helped to further cement the band's reputation, if you like. So the recordings took place in various parts of the world. Again, we worked remotely. I did all the guitars in my own home studio in Greece with a very low budget again. We tracked the drums in Norway. Stian had a studio there. Vocals were recorded in Atlanta at Leviathan Studios. And then at the end, we took all the master tapes to Sweden, and Fredrik Nordstrom mixed everything in Gothenburg at Studio Fredman. The artwork was done by a Japanese artist. I think his name is Kazuo Hakamada, and he was suggested to us by our then Japanese label EMI. I like the artwork very much to this day. It's very dynamic. So because of my strong connection that I had already established in Japan, I was invited to do a promotional tour for the album, which was a big deal, obviously. So I went there, I think, September 2003, and I spent a week in Tokyo doing a lot of press, interviews, and all these things, all the promo things. And one of the coolest memories that I have from that time was that we shot a music video for one of the album's tracks, which was an instrumental, and it's called The Fire and the Fury. That was kind of a big moment because back then, you have to remember, this was pre-YouTube era. So if a record label asked you to do a video, that meant that they had plans to broadcast it on television. And that was a big deal, obviously, especially for up-and-coming small band like us. So anyways, yeah, I shot the first music video ever in Tokyo, and it pictures me basically on a boat that goes around Tokyo Bay, and I have like this wall of amps behind me, and I'm just headbanging and shredding there, which was pretty cool. Then we shot a second video for the album, for the track I'm the Anger. And funnily enough, those two tracks have become staples for Firewind's live set list. These are two of the songs from the album that we still, to this day, play live. And our fans, all our fans around the world, love them. Looking back, Burning Earth was also a very important album for us because it marked the first live activities for the band ever. And where else they took place? In Japan, of all places. We were invited to do a tour there. I remember we did 2 shows in Tokyo and 1 in Osaka. So it was a mini tour together with Rod Rock at the time. Yeah, I think that's when the first kind of singer lineup change happened, because Steven opted out of the touring activities, and we ended up working with Sri Lankan vocalist Chidi Somapala, and we did the first tour ever in Japan, which it's pretty crazy to think that, because it's not such a humble beginning, but after that we also came back to Europe and played our first European shows as well. I think we did a show in London and a couple of festivals. So yeah, those were the beginnings of Firewind, the first attempt for us to become pretty much a live band, if you like. Up until that point, we were pretty much a studio project. So overall, I think this album has stood the test of time. It's one of our most streamed albums in the modern age, and like I said before, 2 of the songs, The Fire and the Fury and I'm the Anger, are kind of like 2 of the songs band's cult classics. We still play them live to this day. Fans love them, and I'm really glad that we are finally reissuing the album on a physical format. So we have finally a reissue on CD, but also on vinyl, on various limited colors. So I hope you guys enjoy it and pick up a copy and crank it up.